All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break from criticizing and apparently to some people beating up on Kaloum because from some of the comments, apparently people think I've been just destroying Mauler and he's crying in his bed and I've been just so mean, calling him a racist, sexist, fascist, and he's going to be sleeping on his pillow, just crying his eyes out. Him and the whole EFAP crew and me and my 200 views are really destroying him. But let's take a break from all that, comedy aside, to look at one of the more crazy moments, which is Brie Larson joining YouTube. And I do think, despite the ridiculous panic, I don't want to just do a quote pro-Brie video. I do think there's something there, but it has to be teased out carefully. If you've been keeping up with the DCEU, and I've dropped a few videos on it, there's going to be a couple of online conventions that are going to come out pretty soon. And again, from both credible as well as the newer channels, I keep hearing over and over again that Marvel is going to try to pull something very soon to upset the amount of promotion that DC Comics is getting. Now, DC is not technically running these conventions, but for all intents and purposes, they are kind of DC Comics, DCEU conventions. So maybe Marvel is going to step in. And just coincidentally, the star of Captain Marvel is now on YouTube. So you can kind of see what the conspiracy is, and I usually don't pay attention to that stuff, but it seems like, yeah, it seems plausible. It does seem really suspicious the way it's all timed, and now there's been a number of videos attacking Brie and criticizing her, even before she's really done anything. But one of them I'm going to concentrate on, which is Jeremy's little take on Brie. And as always, I don't think he has much of an argument, but he does make two major points, which I don't think are very valid, but he does make a sort of minor point implicitly, and that I think is a little bit more tricky, and I do think he should be credited for at least saying something, which a lot of Brie fans probably don't want to hear. Okay, the major point I think is, and this is part of his problem with the video, is he's trying to make a little comedy out of the whole thing, saying that, oh, Brie Larson, oh, she's worked so hard all these years on YouTube to gain her subscriptions, which now has far surpassed a lot of the Fandom Menace people, so they're, usually jealous and really angry about the whole thing. As always, I don't think Jeremy has much of a point here. I mean, yes, if you just mean YouTube, yeah, Brie has sort of just used her fame to sort of leapfrog and sort of subscriptions extremely fast. I mean, just having done YouTube a little bit, it is incredibly tough getting any subscriptions and just maintaining them and just increasing views and all those things. And Brie is obviously in a very privileged class, but that's looking at it very, very narrowly. I mean, yes, she has gotten there really quickly in terms of YouTube, but, she did work for a little bit. I mean, people look at Captain Marvel, but don't take time to consider that she did so many small projects like Room, Scott Pilgrim. She just did a lot of cameos for a long time. I mean, she started off with The Tonight Show way back in the 90s, so it hasn't been just, she just did 2 movies and became super famous, and that was it. She just got handed on a silver platter, Captain Marvel. No, there was negotiations as always, and it didn't just come out of nowhere. So I think that point is pretty dumb. But now his next point is, I think, not correct, but he is getting somewhere where, he's going on and on about her being just another one of those Hollywood elites, so out of touch with the people. She's not an ordinary person. She's part of the Holly weird crowd, yada, 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 yada. And of course, he himself has a lot of troubles with this one because, now he has his own corporation. He's able to employ a few people. Geeks and Gamers is not a small operation. It's pretty big for YouTube. And he's even launched his own website, which very few YouTubers are able to do. So it's kind of a weird stick that he does, that he's sort of representing the ordinary person and always coming off as well, I'm not making as much money as this person. I don't have tons of muscles like Rock Dwayne Johnson, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I have to say, by that standard, I'm way, way closer to the average American who has to earn a living than he does. But I do think he at least brings up a certain point implicitly that I think Brie fans do try to overlook, I think a little too fast, that yes, she does do some things on feminism, and yes, she is a little bit of an activist, but all things considered, she's pretty mild, and a lot of her career choices, admittedly, there's a few curveballs, which I think she should be given a lot of credit for, because she doesn't do just the ordinary stuff in terms of doing her own production and her own directing, but at the end of the day, she does play a little bit into the Hollywood game by doing, the normal sexy photo shoots for magazines and, dressing up in fashion covers and things like that. So I think we want to be careful on this point. I do think Jeremy is always going overboard, that she's some kind of Hollywood weirdo, but I do think the other side of the table is going a little too far, that she's somehow breaking new ground, or somehow she's not at all Hollywood, and that she's very much this committed to her ideals and values. I have no doubt she is, but I think we have to be careful that there is a lot of the same corporate attitude that a lot of other Hollywood actresses take on, and I think should be fairly criticized. Again, within reason, don't want to go overboard, but I do think here Jeremy at least hit on something relevant. And who knows, he may be proven correct if Marvel does pull something very close in the near future. And the YouTube channel was just a nice way to promote something new for her and Marvel, because she's now going to be involved not just with the MCU, but apparently she's doing something with Star Wars as well. So this could be a nice way to promote her, Marvel, Kevin Feige, and the whole brand together. But we'll wait and see. All right, this has been Popcult Analyzed on the Brie Mania recently on YouTube. Popcult Analyzed. If you like the content, please hit the like button and or subscribe. Thank you for listening. Please be safe.